Hi, my name is Rachel White. I'm a JFK assassination researcher. This is my part two video of our two videos about what's happening to JFK's body from Parkland to Love Field. And in this video, I'm going to bring some more evidence to support what I said really in our part one. So if you haven't seen part one, please go back and review that, because certainly what I'm going to say naturally follows on from there. So it's really important to just catch up with part one first. So in part one, we talked about how we understood there to be the beginnings of JFK and J.D. Tippett's body coming together for the first time in the DOA room at Parkland. Okay, and this was the beginning of how they worked out how they're going to switch the bodies. Now, we had to have J.D. Tippett used as a substitute for JFK's body because JFK was his head was shot to bits, blasted to bits, and the narrative was always going to be that they had to say that this was one shooter from behind. But of course, we've got bullets coming in all over the head. The head's blown to bits. It doesn't look like that. So there has to be a way to present the body at autopsy so that the narrative can be followed through. They can't do that, so the answer is to have a substitute body, a body double. And J.D. Tippett, as we know, has been chosen as the JFK lookalike and used for his corpse. And these things are absolutely grotesque. But this, we have to face that this is what they planned out, and this is what they did on the 22nd of November 1963. So we have J.D. Tippett and JFK in the DOA room at Parkland around about 2 p.m. on that day. We talked in video one about how the confrontation occurred with Earl Rose in the corridor, and how that I believe that now to be a staged event to cause a distraction whereby they could move the body of JFK on a gurney under a sheet back to the DOA room via the treatment booths for a minute or two, so that all the focus, you see, is going to be on that conversation, that high octane, guns drawn, angry conversation. Nobody is taking any attention to what's going on kind of behind the scenes. So that's why it occurred. Okay, and we've got Earl Rose in the centre of all this, knowing the law, having already more than likely had the conversation about the legal status as the casket is being ordered. So that's how we know that this confrontational event is a staged event. Okay, because it would have already occurred, this conversation. The decision has already been made because the casket has been ordered and brought in. So the decision's already been made in the minds of the Secret Service on the ground. But of course, the casket is empty because they are taking JFK's body down the corridor to be in the DOA room to wait for the body of J.D. Tippett to arrive. Okay, and we also said that Jackie Kennedy was completely in the knowledge that this body switch was going to occur because she put both wedding rings on her husband, and that was a signal for somebody to identify the body of JFK in that DOA room to get the right body. Okay, so we talked all about that. Now, as this is all occurring and we've got these two bodies in the DOA room, along comes a man into that department by the name of John Melvin Liggett. Now, Liggett was a CIA recruited in, top of the trade embalmer. He was the best of the best of the best at reconstructive surgery for dead people when they've had, mutilating accidents and things like this. He would be called in to make the body presentable for as much as he could for open casket funerals and to wax them up and patch them up, that kind of thing. And he worked for Restland Funeral Home in Dallas as well. So they call him in mid-funeral. He was in the middle of attending a funeral, and they bring him to, well, what I believe happens is, I can't prove this to you, but this is what I'm suggesting will have happened, is that he will have jumped into a hearse or a mortician's van with a casket already in it, driven it to the back door of Parkland and unloaded it through the back door through the DOA room, which is going to look completely normal, natural, completely unsuspicious, because these kinds of things are going to be happening with a funeral home, with a DOA office, all of the time. And in any case, all of the focus on that day at this point is on the front entrance of Parkland, where the press is there, the waiting public, the great big crowd, everybody's hungry for news and information. The entourage has come through, the caskets come through, LBJ's gone through, Jackie's gone through. All of the focus and the attention is at the front door. Nobody is watching what's going on round the back, and that is the reason we got no photos, obviously, because nobody's noticing what's going on at the back door of Parkland. So Liggett goes into this room, and he is there, and I believe this is the beginnings now of how they work this body switch, and together with Earl Rose, and I do believe Earl Rose is very, very much involved in this. Now, if you go online, you will see Tippett's autopsy report there, and he's detailed quite an extensive report for J.D. Tippett, who of course was killed in Texas, was a Texan, his body should have stayed in Texas under the same law, of course, remember this. So Earl Rose there testifies that he did an autopsy of Tippett on his own, and if we look at the autopsy report, that autopsy is dated correctly. The time is 3:15. Okay, now I'm going to debunk that Earl Rose ever did a proper autopsy. He most likely did a once over of the body, noted the wounds, wrote some things on a piece of paper, whilst Liggett and very possibly some other people were placing the bodies of JFK and Tippett into the same casket. I know this sounds horrific, and it really, really is. They put both bodies into the same casket, and they took those bodies into the van there and drove that to Love Field and boarded that onto Air Force 2. Okay, and Earl Rose then goes back to his office and writes up this report, this phony autopsy report on Tippett, because there's absolutely no way that Earl Rose completed a autopsy for J.D. Tippett at 3:15. By 3:15, the Air Force 1 and Air Force 2 were very, very definitely airborne, and I'm going to show you some evidence that tells me 100% that J.D. Tippett and JFK were absolutely in the same place at the same time on board Air Force 2. So if we look at this picture here, I'm going to show it to you very carefully, and we can see some of the things that are going on here. Okay, so you can see that this is JFK's head here, and this is the arm of, we believe here, of Liggett, okay, the technician. Now, the first thing I want to say about this picture is this picture has been presented to us on the internet and in numerous publications for a long time. It's not a new photo. It has been debated and used by many researchers and reprinted and republished in lots of publications as a autopsy photo, and has been debated, as I say, for a very, very long time. So I'm going to point out some things here that maybe are new to us. And the first thing I want to say is that this here is a bed. Okay, you can see that this is a bed here. Who does an autopsy on a bed? Now, the fact that this is a mattress of a bed tells us that this picture has been taken in a non-medical facility. Okay, it's not Parkland and it's not Bethesda. So the only option now here is that this has been taken in a non-medical facility, and we believe this to be Air Force 2 in the cabin, in the bedroom cabin of LBJ. Okay, he gave up his cabin, went into Air Force 1 and gave up his cabin room specifically for this purpose. Okay, and the second thing I want to say is this picture has been flipped around. Okay, and we've put it back to its proper form, but actually it appears the other way round. And the reason for that is because of this wound here. All right, now this wound here has been debated as being forged for, and I don't want to get into all of that side of the, you know, the autopsying the autopsy. I don't want to do that, but what I'm saying is that we've been told that this, when this picture is round the other way, as we've seen it for years, that this is the blasted area here from the right side, which would have come in from the back or the knoll. And they've tried to tell us here. Now, Liggett's already done some kind of reconstructive work. This is a flap, and he's reconstructed the ear here a little bit. And what we've done is we've just simply turned this picture around, and it tells us everything that we need to know. This picture is the most important picture in history of all time, because if we were to turn this photo round back, this photo, how it appears in publications, we would see now that because this picture's been cut here, the blasting to the other side of the head, okay, from the knoll shots, this is what we would see here where this picture has been cut off. But because we've put this picture around the right way, okay, we're now saying that this wound here is the left side of JFK's head. So we need to ask ourselves the question, where did this wound here come from? And guys, you know what I'm going to say, because there is only one answer. Who was sitting here on the left side of JFK in that motorcade? There is only one answer. This picture, when we've reversed it back to its proper form, is telling us that Jackie shot JFK. No question about it. Okay. Now, if we look really carefully, I'm just going to zoom it up a little bit closer so you can see. We can see here a man laid out. We know this to be, look at his eyebrows. Look at his eyes. And if we look really carefully here, we can see too his wound to his left eye. Roscoe shot Tippett here in the left eye. And this, when we've put this picture back the right way, this wound matches up completely. Of course, doesn't it? Of course it does. Now, sometimes this picture is taken in publications this way up. And so the bed is made to look like the body of this person here, we think is Liggett. But I want to say to you then, and you can look on the internet and have a look for yourself, but this here, this is not us cutting the picture. This here is the straight edge. So this is the straight edge of the bed. The bed. No man's body is completely flat and straight like that. So this is not us, you know, kind of cutting the picture and giving it a straight edge. Look online and you will see for yourself what I'm saying here. Now this picture is the most important picture of all time. It truly is. It is the picture that completely exonerates Lee Harvey Oswald. How is a lone nutter making pot shots from a silly sniper's nest window able to pull this scenario together? It doesn't work. So we are saying that this picture for all time changes history and exonerates Lee Harvey Oswald 100%. But it completely implicates LBJ, and it completely implicates Jackie as the shooter, and it completely implicates the fact that we are dealing with the deep state on a mission to take America and in a coup d'etat on the 22nd of November 1963. This picture tells us all of those things. Now we need to ask ourselves the question then, why have we got this picture? Because clearly, if they're trying to cover things up and, you know, not say to the world what's going on here, why have we got this picture in the first place? Who took it? We don't know who took it. But we certainly know that this picture was not meant for public consumption. This picture simply exists because when you order a hit, the conspirators have to know that the narrative is on track, and they have to know that the job that you're doing to cover your tracks is on track. So I believe that that picture was taken as evidence, so that, say for example, on the Saturday morning that picture is published, it was printed out and it was on the table in the Oval Office, and there is LBJ and there is Jackie and there is a few other people around gloating over this picture, the Zapruder film, and saying, we've done it. We've done it. It's proof that the job has been done. Nothing is going to stop us now. Okay? That is their guarantee that the job has been done and the cover-up is beginning. Because you've got to remember that there's going to be a media mogul there putting all a fast-paced narrative together to making sure that the narrative is on track so that nothing is going to trip them up in this cover-up. But they have to know that the cover-up's in the works, it planned out and being dealt with and being done, so that they know they can sit in that Oval Office and feel safe. Okay, so this is why this photo is, has been taken. If not, they would have just tip it over with a sheet. We'd be none the wiser, would we? None the wiser. So I want to say to you categorically, this is what we're dealing with here. This is the level of the deep state. This is the level of deception that these people have gone to dupe us all these years. Now, we could have found this information way sooner. This picture here has been around a very, very long time. And we could have found out about this a bit sooner, I think. But this picture has allowed Richard and I to bust this case wide open. So we are saying in this one picture, Jackie shot her husband. They used J.D. Tippett as a body double, and they did the reconstructive surgery to cover up JFK's wounds and swap him in as a body double on Air Force 2 in LBJ's cabin. This is the level of the deep state. This is the level of deception. Okay, and I want us all to know that this is the truth. Okay, and we don't need to debate this anymore. This is undebatable now. This is it. This changes history for all time. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to share with us, and thank you for listening, and we will chat soon.